And Perk, I actually want to start with you on this one for a change. Tell me this, how should we feel about LeBron being pegged as the MVP favorite?
I mean, it's appropriate. Just look at what he's doing. Forget the fact, Molly, that, you know, it was a short turnaround for us, the offseason, that he played and won a championship, didn't have time to give his body rest, and haven't took a single game off at the age of 36 years old in year 18 with a million minutes on his body. Forget all that. The fact of the matter is, and no disrespect to Joel Embiid, because he's playing at level. No disrespect to Big Joker, Big Jokic down there in Denver, because he's playing at the MVP level. No disrespect to Luka and Paul George and Kevin Durant. But right now, what happened was we got caught up as being prisoners of the moment, including myself. And guess what? We could thank Jason Hillman in the front office of the Cleveland Cavaliers for waking us up again, because he poked the batter of the night, and LeBron James had to give us a friendly reminder of who the hell he was and what type of season he's having. Here it is, this man is averaging 25 points a game, almost 8 rebounds, almost 7.5 assists. And guess what? They have the best record in the NBA, the number one defense in the NBA. And by the way, guess who's the number one defender in guarding their opponent? LeBron James. So he's delivering on both sides of the floor. And Molly, Steven, Max, this is what I was saying last year when we was debating about him and Giannis. We get caught up, especially you, Max, we get caught up in those analytics. We get caught up in PR and all that stuff that don't even matter. And we determine who our MVP is, instead of sitting in front of the television, keeping a cool booty, and watching the game with our eyes and watching who has the effect on the game. And looking at what I saw the other night and what he did against the Cleveland Cavaliers, this goes to show me the separation between him and a guy like Giannis. While Giannis is standing in the corner in the fourth quarter, watching Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday take over the game when it's a possession by possession, LeBron James is saying things like, get the hell out the way and let me go for 21 in the fourth and carry us to victory. So with that being said, let me apologize to LeBron James for not even recognizing him and taking him for granted like we have done over the past 2 decades, when he should have been winning MVPs multiple years. But at the end of the day, he should be a favorite in a lot of people's eyes, because what he's doing right now for the Los Angeles Lakers is phenomenal.
Well, he's among the favorites. I wouldn't say that I'd make him my MVP right now, but understand, I'm the dude saying MVP shouldn't even be given out until the end of the entire season, not just the regular season. Because what we've seen from LeBron in the regular season is he fits in among the top players in the league. Then when the games are most important, we separate everybody and we see what's what. And LeBron is the last man left standing. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about favorite for regular season MVP. And Perk, everything you said about LeBron is true, and he's great too. Of course, he's coming off a 46-point game, 21 in the second half. Joel Embiid hasn't played last couple games, so it's 18 games for LeBron, best record in the league. 14 games for Embiid, best record in the conference. But I still say Embiid is the MVP so far in this regular season. Now, Embiid, not only you talk about PER and all that stuff, he's leading the league, Perk. Embiid has those numbers, and all PER is you're taking all the stats people like to cite and you're putting them all together. Embiid is up ahead. Well, I mean, you'll say when you say he scored 46 points, when you use PER, it's just another better stat than he scored 46 points. But that's not the point. You eyeball it and see Embiid's been a monster. On defense, I think Embiid's probably been the best defensive player in the league this year. And while what LeBron's doing is more impressive because of his age, right? But we're not talking about his entire career. We're talking about right now. Look at what Embiid is, what he's done, and now take him off the team, right? Those games he missed doesn't affect their record in the conference. They're still leading the conference. But when he doesn't play, they're losing to the worst team in basketball by a lot. They're getting blown out by bad teams without Embiid. And to top it all off, guys, when you talk about impressive, Embiid
feel about that. LeBron's been putting on a show. We're going to be talking about that. And then, of course, there is a Super Bowl coming up. It is Tom Brady versus Patrick Mahomes. There's a lot to discuss there as well. Ain't nobody going anywhere. We just getting started. This First Take in the house with the crew. Let's go.
LeBron James is delivering.
LBJ. Express yourself, LeBron James.
Top of the morning to you. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take. Thank you for hanging with us. Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman. I'm Molly Karam Rose. Fellas, talk a little King James, shall we? We'll dive right into it here. So LeBron scored 40 about LeBron being an MVP favorite.
I don't think we should have a problem with it. Obviously, I've been talking about Kevin Durant because Max has been talking about Joel Embiid, and Joel Embiid obviously deserves consideration, and Kevin Durant is averaging 30, okay, after coming off an Achilles tear here. But we have to pay attention to LeBron James, and I don't mind him putting on 46 points against his old team, the Cleveland Cavaliers, basically saying, y'all must have forgot who the hell I am. Certainly he was aiming at somebody courtside sitting next to Cavs ownership that was applauding a miss, and then he put on the show in the fourth quarter. We all get that, but I would remind everybody he didn't really need to drop 46 that game to put his statement season on display. LeBron James is 36 years of age, y'all. 36 years of age. In his 18th season, he is averaging 25, 8, and 7. Okay? On 41% shooting from three-point range, which if he continued at this clip would be the best of his career. Max alluded to his game evolving and basically, just transforming before our very eyes, and that's all fine, good, and dandy. But he's leading the team in scoring. We know that he's your point forward. Everything runs through him. They've got the best record in basketball. They've got the best record in basketball. They're the number one seed in the West. They're the reigning defending NBA champions. And oh, by the way, they're undefeated on the road this season going into Philly tonight. And so when you take all of those things into consideration and we talk about an MVP, we do have to take into consideration numbers. We obviously take into strong consideration impact. But when you combine that with the result, meaning number one in the NBA, as in the best record, unblemished, undefeated, on the road, okay, averaging more points than Anthony Davis at this particular juncture, doing what he has done, and the fact that he's a four-time champion, the reigning NBA champion and NBA Finals MVP at the age of 36 and still doing what he's doing, I don't think it can be ignored, and I don't think we can summarily dismiss the man's greatness even at this particular moment in time. I ain't talking resume. I'm not talking longevity. I'm talking right now the way that he has been balling for the Los Angeles Lakers. The fact that he's in the conversation for league MVP is not only apropos, but very, very predictable.
Yeah, he's in the running. LeBron's a solid candidate. He's not the choice right now. If you're talking about the best player in basketball, who we all know based on what we keep seeing in the playoffs when it matters most, it's LeBron. We're not up to that yet. I'm the one saying, what are you talking about, regular season MVP? And then just the finals MVP. What about the whole playoffs? We should wait till the end of the finals, then give the MVP for the whole thing. Okay, but you argue actually no. We're talking regular season MVP. We need to incentivize teams. We need to give the paying customer, the fan, something to watch in the regular season. Well, okay, regular season MVP so far has been Joel Embiid. Embiid's the regular season MVP. Stephen A., over his last 5 games, he's averaging 33, 11, and 2 blocks. Joel Embiid shooting over that time 35% from 3. If you want to look at his season numbers, you can talk about points, rebounds, assists, blocks, steals, all those things, percentages, true shooting, all that kind of stuff. But PER is a good kind of shorthand for that. Embiid is leading the league, well above LeBron. There it is, 31.2. Where's LeBron on the list? So statistically, per game, Embiid has been better. Statistically, per game. But Stephen A., if you just eyeball it, Embiid has been a monster, not only on the offensive end, but on the defensive end. A monster. Maybe the best player in the game defensively. And by the numbers per game, he's the best player in the game offensively. What else is there? There's defense and there's offense, but there's more. LeBron's played in all 18 games. His team is in first place. He is playing with AD, another MVP caliber player. As good as Simmons is, he's not that. LeBron's got AD. They're probably going to split the vote. They're in first place. So are the Sixers. Well, Embiid's only played in 14 games. It hasn't affected where his team is. They're in first place. Now, he has missed 4 games. Tightness in his back and everything. Okay. What happened in those 4 games? It hasn't hurt their position in the standings, in first place in the conference. And what you see when Embiid doesn't play, they don't just kind of barely lose. They get blown out by teams that they beat with Embiid. Stephen A., they have Dwight Howard. It's not like they don't have anything there.
You just hold on. So in other words, part of your argument is Dwight Howard. Did you really just say that? Did you just?
I tried to bait you a little bit.
If we're
but
talking about listen, and I apologize. I want to apologize because I don't mean any disrespect to Dwight Howard, who's a champion and played a pivotal role in the Los Angeles Lakers winning the chip last year. And I still think that Dwight Howard is a force defensively. But even in his prime, offensively, I thought he was more than what he actually was. His prowess was defensively. This dude was a monster on the boards. He was a monster shot blocker. He was a monster defender. No question about that. Offensively, his repertoire wasn't that deep. I always told Dwight Howard that. No disrespect. When we look at Joel Embiid and you see the offensive arsenal that he has at his display, the perimeter shooting, his back to the basket, facing the basket, putting the ball on the floor, shooting threes, all of this other stuff. It's on another level. But before I give it back to you, Max Kellerman, I want you to understand something. I understand that in reality, what you're really admitting to the public with this particular subject is what you should have admitted just publicly, just come out and flagrantly said it. You leave the basketball knowledge to me. That's what you should be doing. Because, Max Kellerman, you got a whole bunch of holes in your argument, but here is the biggest one. And put me up on that split screen, please, because I want to look at Max, and I want to look at his face when I'm saying this to him. Max Kellerman, you know, you're a very busy man, and maybe you haven't watched the games. Because, Max Kellerman, I must tell you, who the hell have the Sixers beaten? Miami's struggling with a slew of injuries. I got Victor. The Toronto Raptors ain't what they should have been. The Washington Wizards, don't get me started. The Orlando Magic, these are teams that they've beaten here. Okay, the 2 victories that they had back-to-back against the Boston Celtics, Jason Tatum didn't play those games. And that's basically the only above 500 team they've beaten thus far. I'm not disrespectful of the Philadelphia 76ers. I believe in them. I believe they're title contenders. Love the fact that Doc Rivers is there. Daryl Morey's going to be on my NBA show, SportsCenter with Stephen A. tonight with me. Okay. Embiid, Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris is balling. Seth Curry is a Curry. Okay. He's officially a Curry. Shooting damn near 60% from three-point range. This brother's special right now. But the bottom line is, Max, if you look at the level of competition they've been going against thus far, it's pretty suspect. That has a lot to do with how they're 12-6 right now. Having just come off a loss to the worst team in basketball in Detroit. Pay attention.
Right. Whoa. Right. Pay attention. They came off a blowout loss to the worst team in basketball when Embiid doesn't play. When he does play, they beat those same teams. Embiid does not choose the schedule. And I want to get back to Dwight Howard for a second. Dwight Howard was useful for the Lakers last year. But there are several ways you could talk about MVP. Who's just been the best? Embiid has the best offensive numbers, and he's at the very least among the very best defenders in the game this year. What kind of an impact does he have on the team? His team is in first place in the conference. Stephen A., you're right about the schedule, but he doesn't choose the schedule. He just has to play who's there. What about value to your team?
That's all. I ain't blame him for it.
Dwight Howard and Ben Simmons, it's hard for them to share the court on offense because they both need the paint. Because that's the only place that Dwight Howard can score, and the same thing with Ben Simmons. So in fact, when you talk about value to your team as the Sixers are constructed, it's not just that Embiid in an absolute sense is putting up the best numbers, or in an eyeball way is dominating on offense and defense unlike anyone else. But the fact is, to his team, they can't function without him. They can't function. It's not just, Stephen A., they're not quite as good. They struggle in the close loss. They get blown out by bad teams without him. So in every way you can define MVP, so far in this regular season, it's Embiid.
Max Kellerman. Without LeBron James, the Los Angeles Lakers are the New Orleans Pelicans. Maybe, because they wouldn't have Drew Holiday. That's who the Lakers are without LeBron. With LeBron, they're the reigning, defending NBA champions. So using that argument to support Embiid is damn near sacrilegious. If it's Embiid and by virtue of an argument against LeBron, that's no. I'm just saying that's sacrilegious to use that point of the argument is all I'm trying to say. Just that point. You can't sit up there and talk about what the Sixers are without Embiid to make an argument of Embiid over LeBron for MVP in the regular season, but ignore what the Lakers are without LeBron.
LeBron is obviously essential to his team. If you take any MVP off of any team, their record would be very different. What I'm simply pointing out is the Sixers with Embiid, like the numbers favor Embiid, the eyeball test on defense favors Embiid, and now I'm talking about the fact that LeBron has played the whole schedule, which favors him in this conversation, except that with Embiid, they're number one in the conference. So the fact that he's missed games hasn't hurt them there. But what happens when he does, Stephen A., it's not just simply that they're the New Orleans Pelicans. Without